Hello everyone, I'm here to discuss the most important current affairs of today from UPSC perspective. Today's articles have been taken from The Hindu and the Indian Express. So without a further ado, let's begin. The first article today is from the Indian Express. It talks about the election of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. There is no Speaker in the Legislative Assembly of the Maharashtra since February 2021. Also, the Deputy Speaker has been presiding over the proceedings. Many other state legislatures like UP are without a deputy speaker. So the date to elect the speaker is fixed by the president. First of all, note that a speaker is a constitutional position. That means it is mentioned in the constitution. In the Lok Sabha, both the presiding officers, that is the speaker and the deputy speaker, are elected from among its members. This is an important line, by a simple majority of members present and voting in the house. The constitution has not specified any specific qualifications for the election of the speaker. It only requires that the speaker should be a member of the house. But an understanding of the constitution and the laws of the country and the rules and procedure and conventions of the parliament is considered a major asset for the holder of the office of a speaker. Another very important term is the pro tem speaker. So in a newly constituted house, when the speaker has not been elected, there is a pro tem speaker who presides over the sitting. Now, if due to the death or resignation of the speaker, there is an election for the speaker later in the Lok Sabha, then the deputy speaker is the one who presides over that sitting. Let us look at the position of a speaker in the Constitution of India. So the speaker is looked upon as the true guardian of the traditions of the parliamentary democracy. His or her unique position is illustrated by the fact that he or she is placed very high in the warrant of precedence in our country, standing next only to the president, vice president, and the Prime Minister. The Speaker of Lok Sabha is the chairman of the Business Advisory Committee. This is an important point. The General Purposes Committee and the Rules Committee. The chairman of all parliamentary committees are nominated by him or her. He or she fixes the date of election of the Deputy Speaker also. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha is the ex officio President of the Indian Parliamentary Group IPG, which was set up in 1949, which functions as the national group of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, which is the union of the various parliaments of the world, and the main branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association CPA. From exam point of view, Article 93 is very important, so let us have a look at it. The House of the People, that is the Lok Sabha, shall, as soon as may be possible, choose 2 members of the House to be respectively Speaker and Deputy Speaker thereof, and so often as the office of a Speaker or Deputy Speaker becomes vacant, the House shall choose another member to be Speaker or Deputy Speaker as the case may be. So the Article 93 specifies the election of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Here it is important to note that the functions of the Deputy Speaker are to step into the shoes of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha when the seat is vacant. It is also very important to note that the Constitution mandates that the position of the Speaker should never be vacant. Now let us have a quick glance at the functions of the Speaker. The Speaker decides if a bill is a money bill or not. The Speaker has a casting vote in case of a deadlock in the House. The Speaker presides over the joint sitting of the 2 houses of the Parliament, but the sitting is summoned by the President. So this is a very important point. All the communications through the President or the Governor in case of a state is made through the Speaker of the House. The next news article states that Bihar's 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝘁𝘂 stupa has been waterlogged. So this waterlogging has happened due to a flood in the Gandak river. About the 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝘁𝘂 stupa, it is the largest Buddha stupa in the world. This is a very important point. It dates back to the Ashokan era. Locally, it is known as Devalaya, which means the abode of God. It is given the status of a protected monument by the Archaeological Survey of India. This is the photograph of the 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝘁𝘂 stupa. Another important stupa is the 𝗔𝗵𝘃 stupa, which lies in Sarnath. Just note the location. Then this is the 𝗘𝗱𝗏𝘃 stupa, which lies in Sarnath as well. Now let us look at the structure of a stupa. Starting from the top, there is a shade-like structure called the chhatri, then a balcony-like structure called the 𝗲𝗏𝗃, then anda, which is a dome-shaped structure under which the relics of Buddha are saved. Then we have 2 pradakshini paths, which means circumambulatory paths. The toran is the main entrance and the Vedika is the outer boundary of the stupa. Our last article for today is from the economy section. The article talks about the problem of NPA and how the banks have fared better than what was perceived by the RBI. So the article is not exactly relevant from exam point of view, and some points about the rising NPAs and the control of NPAs have been done in another news which have been covered previously. In this article, there was a term called the TLTRO, which means the targeted long-term repo operations. So let us read about it in detail. The long-term repo operations, or the LTRO, is a tool under which central banks provide 1 year to 3 year money to banks at a prevailing repo rate, accepting government securities with matching or higher tenure as a collateral. So the tenure of the government securities which the banks will give to the RBI in lieu of money can range from 1 to 3 years or can be more than that, but cannot be less than 1 to 3 years. As banks get long-term funds at low rates, their cost of funds falls. In turn, they reduce the interest rate for borrowers. So LTRO has helped RBI ensure that banks reduce their marginal cost of fund-based lending rate without reducing policy rates. So without further revising the repo rate, the RBI ensured that the banks had access to liquidity and thus making the borrowing cheaper for people. So how is LTRO different from LAF or MSF? While the RBI's current windows of liquidity adjustment facility and the marginal standing facility offer banks money for their immediate needs ranging from 1 to 28 days, LTRO supplies them with liquidity for their 1 to 3 year needs. So these are the various current rates of policy. The repo rate stands at 4%, reverse repo at 3.35%, MSF or the marginal standing facility rate at 4.25%, and the bank rate is the same as marginal standing facility rate at 4.25%. Let us look at MSF and LAF in detail. MSF is a window for scheduled banks to borrow overnight funds from the RBI in case of an emergency situation when interbank liquidity dries up completely. So RBI is not the first resort for a bank to look for a overnight money. The banks first go to another bank. Now if the interbank liquidity has dried up, they will call for RBI's help and RBI lends to them at the rate that is MSF. Now let us look at liquidity adjustment facility. So LAF is a tool used in monetary policy by the RBI that allow banks to borrow money through repurchase agreements or for banks to make loans to the RBI through reverse repo agreements. So one might be thinking why the RBI would be borrowing money from the banks. So if liquidity increases in the market, the RBI comes into play and it absorbs the excess liquidity by borrowing from the banks. Also, when the banks want to borrow from the RBI, they borrow at the rate called the repo rate. So that's all for today from my side. Do write in the comment section if you have any query regarding a particular topic. Thank you so much.